Hi guys, in this lecture we're going to continue our discussion about the string class and the string methods. So far we learned about the length method that returns the number of characters in the string. We learned also about the char at or char at that returns the character at a specific index. Also we learned about substring, which returns a part of the string starting from an index and ending at another index. And also we learned about index of, which searches for a specific character or substring and returns the location if it is found. If it's not found, it returns -1. So let's learn other methods, starting with concat. Concat, as the name implies, it combines like two strings. So basically concatenate two strings. It's like combine them into one. Let's have an example. So here we have three variables. str is computer science, str1 is only computer, and str2 is science. So let's say I want to combine str1 and str2. I have two ways to do that. I can either, the easy way is use the plus sign str2. So when you are using plus with string, that's concatenate. Basically, you're just putting them side by side. But when you are using the plus sign with numbers, you are adding the numbers. So it has like plus has two functions. The first function, if you are using them with numbers, you are adding the numbers, like 2 plus 1, 3, and so on. But if you are using the plus sign with string, then you are concatenating. You are just putting them side. It's like first name plus last name. You are just putting first name next to the last name. So here, if I run the program, it's going to put computer science together. So str. Now, as you can see here, there is no space. Now, if you want to add space, I can just put space here and then put plus again. So now you're going to see the space. So concatenate doesn't give you space. You just put the two strings side by side. Okay. Another way is use the method concat. So I can use str1, which is the first one, concat, and then you put the second one, str2. So if you run the program, it's going to give you the same thing, which is computer science combined. Okay? So you have the choice. You can either use the plus sign or the concat method. Now the second method is starts with and ends with. So these two methods return true or false. So it accepts a string or substring and then check if the string starts with the specific substring or not. So if it matches, it's going to return true. If it does not match, it's going to return false. And the same thing for ends with. Does the string end with a specific character or a string? So let's have an example. Let's say, for example, I want to check str starts with, let's say, com. Does it start with com? Remember, Java is case sensitive, so it has to be exactly the same letter and the same case. So here we have the same thing, so it should return true. See? Now if I put com with lowercase, even though it's the same thing, but because the case of the first letter is different, that's going to return false. It's not the same. They are not the same. Okay? Now we can do the same thing with ends with, str ends with. If I put, for example, science. So it ends with science, but S is capitalized. That's why it returns false. So you have to use S capitalized. Let's say by mistake I put here dots. Do they add with the same thing? No. Does it end with science with that? No, there is no dot in here, so it's going to return false. Why? Because it does not exactly matches what we have here. Okay, so if you remove that dot, then it's going to return true. Okay. Now we have also another method which is very useful, which is to uppercase and lowercase. Sometimes you want to change the string to either uppercase or lowercase. So for example, here I can put str that to uppercase. So it changes every single character to an uppercase. If it's already in uppercase, it's going to stay in uppercase. So here, for example, computer science, I want to change all characters to uppercase. So I'm going to run the program, it's going to change. So keep in mind here that when you are calling to uppercase, you are not changing the original string. I mean, I can print to str, it's still the same. It did not change. Basically, you are creating a new one. You are creating a new string. See, it did not change. We still have computer science str as the same. It did not change. So when you are calling to uppercase or lowercase, you are creating a new one. That means I can change it. I can save it. So for example, here, I can create a variable. I'll call it big equal str to uppercase. I can save it in this variable. That means this method returns another string, and then I can print it if I want to. So big, so that's going to return computer science capitalized. See that? Now the same thing for lowercase. I can have a variable, I can save it, I can call it lower, and then put str to lowercase, and then print it. So that's going to return another string, but this time all characters. Now most of them are already in lowercase, but if there is any uppercase, it will change it to lowercase, as you can see right here. Okay, so that's the difference between uppercase and lowercase. Another method also we use once in a while, which is last index of. Now we learned about index of. So last index of basically returns the last occurrence of a string. Index of, we say that index of str dot index of, it returns the first one. So if I put e, for example, it's going to return the first e I will meet. So here 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's going to return 6. But if I use last index of, it's going to return the last one. Basically just the first one starting from the end. So last index of e. So sometimes you may be interested in the last one for whatever reason. So last index of would be a very good method to use. So it's 15, which is the last one here. Okay. Now there is another method also called trim. So trim basically removes any like beginning and the trailing spaces you may have. So sometimes you may have some empty spaces either by accident or they were part of the string and you want to ignore them. You want to focus on the main string, like here, for example. So I can put, for example, str.trim. See? So if I print them, that means you're going to print them after trimming, after getting rid of any empty spaces, whether before or after. And this method is very useful for example, for the username. You know, sometimes by accident you add like a couple of empty spaces at the beginning of your username, and the computer still accepts your username because they're using the trim method. So it ignores any unintended empty space you have at the beginning or sometimes at the end. So they're very useful. Okay, so it will print computer science. You can see there's no empty space, even though in the original one there was empty spaces before and after. So it will get rid of them. It will just ignore them. Now there's also another method is replace. Replace basically, as the name implies, replaces a character or substring with another character or substring. So for example, I can use system out line str replace, let's say, E with A. So every time I find E, it will be replaced by A. So computer science, we have three E's, they will be replaced with A's. So three replacements here. So as you can see, compare now because we have empty space, we're gonna remove them. And then run the program. As you can see, every time there is an E, it will change to, so it says computer science, whatever it is. Okay, so that's what the replace is. Very straightforward. It just replace, and now you can use both. You can use characters or strings. So you can change, for example, a substring, let's say MBA with Master of Business Administration. So sometimes you have a big, long documents, and you want to change that acronym MBA with the whole name, Masters of Business Administration. So instead of like changing them individually, the replace method would be very useful to replace all of them in the entire document. So it saves a lot of time. Now the last method we're going to be learning is equals. Equals basically compares two strings and returns true if they match. So for example, let's add another variable here. Let's say string str3, and it is computer. So I'm going to compare str1 and str3. As you can see, they are the same, so it should return true. So if I put, for example, here str1 equals str4, right? Or 4 or 3, sorry, str3. But since they exactly match, and then you need to be careful about the case. Okay, it should return true. Now, what about if by accident I change C to lowercase? So you may think that's going to return true, but they don't exactly match. Why? Because the letter C is lowercase and the second one's going to return false. What about if I want to ignore the lowercase uppercase? And so there is another method, which is equals ignore case, as you can see right here. So this will ignore, it will compare only the letters, regardless what case they have. So sometimes you may want to use the second one to ignore or to don't pay attention to the case. So it says true right here. So this is basically the method of the string class. You need to practice them, and yeah, that's the best way to remember them, is to practice them on a regular basis. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next lecture.